Your favorite albums are bad, and I'm going to prove it to you by exploring 5 things that make albums good. For example,
good albums need to be attention grabbing. You see, whenever people talk about quote-unquote good albums, they talk about good production and good songwriting, but while I think those can help, I don't think those are the final factors that make good albums. Because even if an album has technically music theory perfect production and also just amazing poetic songwriting, if it doesn't stand out, I instantly drift. Now, to demonstrate this, my favorite album of all time is Igor, and when you listen to it, the first thing you hear is the fact that that chord is held for 22 seconds shows you that this isn't gonna be the same old album. It's Tyler trying something new, and it grabs your attention. This is part of the reason why Igor's theme is one of my favorite songs of all time. Its meticulous nature and everything that was put into it sets up the album that is to be. You know that this album is gonna be a journey and that it's gonna be different from pretty much anything you've ever heard. While some artists decide to take singles and make them into an album, whenever you see that that album is a true work of art, like its own project, and that very beginning of it is setting you up for the rest of the album, it changes the entire experience. I see a lot of attention-grabbing features in artists like Radiohead, where, for example, in Rainbows, the very first song of that starts with that electronic drum loop was a completely new sound for Radiohead. You see, while they're a rock group, they made sure to add new elements to each album so it didn't sound stale, didn't sound like the last album, but it sounded new and fresh and grabbed your attention. Another feature of an opening track that grabs my attention is instrumentation, orchestration. This happens in Little Sims, Sometimes I Might Be Introvert, where while it is a rap album, the very first minute or two of that album is purely orchestral. I also see it in Rex Orange County's Apricot Princess, where it instantly just grabs your attention with how detailed and purposely thought through that opener is. Sometimes you can't really explain what the attention grabbing feature is, but for a lot of the things like really good bass lines or really crisp drums are what do it for me and draw me into an album. Now, once you're hooked into an album, the next thing that matters is cohesion. Now, I want to piggyback off of an idea I just said where I feel like the album is part of a dying breed. I mean, we're in the streaming generation, and so the amount of listens that an artist gets on a streaming platform matters the most, and so it makes the most sense to release singles and then put them together into an album, although they were not made to be just one project initially. And so while that makes sense, whenever I see somebody put a straight 2, 3, 4 years into one project, that's when I perk up. There's so many albums that can have that hook, can be interesting, but if they don't have that element of songs feeling better together than whenever they're apart, then it's not gonna be a great album in my eyes. Of course, going back to the example of Igor, I mean, you think about the transitions from Earthquake to I Think, where in the background you can notice subtly he's saying, and then I Think starts with 4. It's details like this that really make an album transformative for me. A couple other albums that showcase this point perfectly are, first of all, Charm by Clairo. I mean, it's so jazzy. All of the beats kind of sound the same, but in the way that they are different, but they just work together so well. But with an album like Charm, with the cohesion, you have to think about, while these beats sound the same and the songs kind of sound similar, you cannot have an album that sounds so similar. There's a lot of albums that will go either very slow or very fast throughout the whole album, and it's really what makes a difference to me is a variety of things that somehow work together. So slow beats and fast beats that somehow commingle into each other and make the album what it is. You need a Nomad on Charm, where it is slow and kind of builds, versus an Add Up My Love, where it is much more upbeat. Without that change of pace, pace, I feel like it goes back to the attention grabbing point where I just start to lose interest. You know, I want a switch up. I want to see them really pushing their creative side and going in and trying different things, not doing one sound and continuing to do it for 20 songs. Another album that I think does this very well is Currents by Tame Impala. Overall, throughout the entire album, it captivates you and does different things, and I mean really interesting production changes that work together, and the beat switches are just cohesive throughout that entire album. But while these albums, first of all, have that attention grabbing feature, and second of all, are very cohesive, they also have a lot of heart. See, this is where some artists blow it for me, because they can have the most attention grabbing album, they can have the most cohesive album, but if you're not able to make a connection with the artist and see that they really put their heart and soul into this project, then that just blows it for me. Albums that tell stories and albums that kind of show the artist changing and learning lessons throughout life are the ones that mean the most to me, and I consider the greatest of albums. I mean, obviously I'm gonna talk about Igor through this because it seems to be kind of a manifestation of Tyler's real life that he is able to show throughout this story, acting as Igor, you know, learning and growing as a person. Now, other albums that do this for me are ones like Swimming by Mac Miller, where he is just come from his naive young teenage self into this matured mid-20-year-old who is reflecting on the lessons he's learned, you know, in 2009, reflecting on his past and how he came up, and it's just a very full circle moment of the maturity of Mac Miller and the lessons he learned. Another album that implements this perfectly is Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. You know, after Kendrick Lamar takes this big 5-year break from music, he comes back and goes through the lessons that he learned, you know, going to therapy. And Kendrick Lamar, like all of us, is just a human who is trying to do the best he can. And my final one here that's a little different from the other ones, but The Alexander Technique by Rex Orange County. This album I first of all found corny. I mean, I listened to the first song, Alexander, and I'm like, I love Rex Orange County, but this is just silly. But the more I listen to it, the more I just realize that it's just real. It's him learning lessons about his life and conveying them to the audience. And I really felt that he put his heart into it and that I could make a connection to the art. And I feel like this connection is the most quintessential part of music. I mean, music as an art form, the point is that the artist is able to put the things that they're dealing with, the thoughts that they can't fully articulate, into an album, into a piece of art, into a project that the listener can listen to and connect with, can understand at a level that just isn't able to happen just with words. But on a much less serious note, something else that is very important for a good album is replayability. At the end of the day, albums need layers. They need something that makes you want to come back and dissect them more. There are albums that I've listened to over the past couple of years, and while they're amazing and have banger after banger after banger, they don't have too much substance after that. And so after a certain point, I find myself not going back to them because there's not a deeper level to go down to. There's not production choices that I can look into and really see, why did they do that? There's not lyricism that I can look into. I mean, this is why Igor has stuck with me so long, is that you can really dissect it, and over 100 listens, you can learn something every single time. It's so interesting to just look into the production choices. I mean, one of my favorite things about the album is the fact that the last chord of the last song on Igor, Are We Still Friends, does not technically resolve the song. What does resolve it is the first chord of the first song on Igor. Now, this is just crazy because it shows the cyclical nature of the album, that you don't actually just take Heartbreak and go on with your merry way after that. It goes in cycles, but the fact that it goes down to this production choice that you can see Tyler took thought into and really takes many listens and just listening to podcasts, learning more about the album to know about, is just so important to me and helps me connect with an album way more. I mean, when you talk about replayability too, you just have to bring up MF Doom. I mean, his lyrics insane. There is so much that you can study for hundreds of listens. I mean, all of his albums you can just go into and replay them a ton of times and they're still fresh and you're still finding lyrics to dissect. And really just anything that is, at the end of the day, very, very technical on the production side, where choices are made to really impact how the person listening to the album feels. And with a whole album, I mean, it's just so much greater than a song, where you can, throughout, a story, can make the listener feel like they are transformed after listening to it. And I mean, with replayability, there's pretty much just one more thing that makes good albums good, and that is 6 months, or 3 months, or 1 month. I mean, any amount of time. I feel like the albums that have been the most impactful for me have taken time to understand and enjoy. I mean, going back to Igor, back in 2020, I mean, I was listening purely to like indie rock, indie pop. I didn't like hip hop. And so whenever I heard Earthquake, I really liked it. But if I went into any other song on Igor, it was too harsh. It was too different from what I was listening to at the time for me to enjoy. But as my music taste grew throughout the past 5 years, I mean, I've changed so much as a person, and I can connect so much more deeper to the album. I mean, other albums that encapsulate this is like Blonde by Frank Ocean. I used to be a Frank Ocean hater, I'll admit it, and now I just absolutely connect with Blonde and Channel Orange, and I find them as some of my favorite albums of all time now. Along with the time that it takes for you to get acquainted with an album, I feel like it's also important for the album to stand the test of time. I love looking back on seasons in my life with important albums where my favorite song on these albums changed. I noticed this a lot back in the day whenever I was in my indie phase and I was listening to a lot of Rex Orange County, and I listened to Pony, and at the very beginning, songs like 10 out of 10 and Pluto Projector were my obvious favorites. But as time went on, songs like Always, like Stressed Out, like Never Had the Balls started to grow on me a lot, and I started to connect with them in a way that I never thought I would be able to. This also happened to me on like Flower Boy by Tyler the Creator, where originally, my favorite song on the album was 911/Mr. Lonely, but as time went on, like a song that I did not like, Boredom, which did feature Rex Orange County, so it was kind of crazy. But I didn't like Boredom. I did not like Boredom for a long time. And as I grew to understand it and listen to it in the context of the album more, I started to really connect with it, and it's one of my favorites now. Now, I will say, nothing's taken my top spot of November on Flower Boy, but it's interesting to see the songs that go in and out of rotation on albums that I've been listening to for years now. And so at the end of the day, albums can be beautiful, they can be amazing, they can be cohesive, they can be attention grabbing, they can have heart, but over time, things change. Your music taste changes. You as a person change. The things that you're going to connect with change. And therefore, the albums that you're going to think are good albums are going to change. Those are my top 5 things of what I think make a quote unquote good album. Please let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and if you guys disagree with that opinion. As always, thank you guys seriously so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video and want to come back for more, subscribe. I mean, it's free. You can unsubscribe anytime, and it would greatly make my day cool and epic and better. And if you want to talk to more like-minded people who watch the channel, consider joining our Discord. With that being said, thank you guys seriously so much for watching. It always means the world to me, especially when you stay to the end. I mean, that's crazy to me. But thank you guys very much. I appreciate your time. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.